So you're interested in joining the Army, but you're not sure. Do I go officer or do I go enlisted? Well, I got 5 things here that might help you decide that. What's up, my friends? U.S. Army veteran Christopher Chaos, and today I'm kind of comparing what it's like being an officer compared to enlisted, and not necessarily from personal experience. Obviously, I was only enlisted, but I worked around a lot of officers, right? So I know, some of the pros and cons to being an officer compared to an enlisted, and that's kind of what I'm covering. I got 5 things that I really want to cover to help you maybe make that decision if that's something you're trying to kind of roll around as far as an idea. Of course, if there's other things you want to know about the United States Army, well, I'm your guy and this is your channel, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. We got to get to 100,000 subscribers before the end of 2021. I need your help to accomplish that, so hit that subscribe button and let's learn about the 5 things and the 5 reasons why maybe officer is good or maybe enlisted is good. A lot of these might make it sound like officer is the better, and for some people maybe that is the case, but at the end I'll give you kind of my impression as far as what I feel is the best and which one maybe I would recommend. By the way, just in case you're that far off and don't know what the hell I'm talking about as far as officer compared to enlisted, officers are like your lieutenants, your captains, your majors, that kind of thing. Enlisted is like your privates, your specialists, your sergeants, those individuals. So that's officers and that's enlisted. Now, the first one that I want to kind of compare to is the pay, because obviously there is a difference in pay. So I have the 2021 pay chart up right here. So in the year of 2021, these are some of the pays that we're looking at for officers compared to enlisted. I'm not gonna go through like all of them, but like just as a like starting point, right? If you are a fresh, brand new lieutenant in the United States Army, your current pay is $3,386 for base pay. And that's not also including other incentives because officers will also get like BAH for housing and BAS. Enlisted soldiers can also get BAH and BAS, but they have to be married for that. Where an officer, you don't have to be married. You can be a single officer and still get those extra benefits for extra pay. But if we're looking at like a brand new private E1, I mean, this is entry level kind of thing. So the pay is pretty low because it's entry level. I mean, in basic training, they're only getting $1,650. After they've been in the Army a little more than 4 months, it bumps up a little bit. It goes to $1,785. That's also before taxes come out. And it really doesn't take too long to kind of rank up in that kind of area. I mean, from a lieutenant going from an O1 to an O2, that may take a little bit of time, but like an enlisted soldier going from E1 to E2 to E3 to E4, usually doesn't take a whole lot of time, so you can easily end up getting up to the point of an E4, and that's making $2,330, but still not as much as a brand new lieutenant. When officers start moving up in rank, then it definitely starts to total up, and especially if you're an individual that works your way up to like the higher ranks of like colonel and major or even general or anything else like that, that is some serious money right there, and you're making some pretty good bank. On the enlisted side, you really don't get that. I mean, you'll start to make pretty good, decent money when you like staff sergeant as an E6 kind of a thing. If you're married, then that's a little bit extra, but it takes a little bit longer, on the enlisted side in rank to move up to those higher pay scales. But I mean, the important thing you gotta note is that enlisted is like an entry-level thing. That's no college education unless you come in as an E4 because you do have a bachelor's degree, and that does allow you to earn a little bit of more, money because you've come up in rank a little bit higher, but still not quite as much as a lieutenant. But you gotta think of enlisted as more of an entry-level type of thing. If you're someone who has a college education, then you have experience as far as education-wise, and so they allow you to come in as an officer, as a higher rank, so you get a little bit paid a little bit more, just like in the civilian field, right? You have a college degree, a lot of times employers pay you more because you have a college degree or offer you a better position compared to if you're just fresh out of high school. So that's also the way you have to look at it. I mean, a lot of people don't like the pay, especially for how dangerous sometimes it can be being in the Army, depending on your MOS, depending on what's going on. But enlisted, essentially, when you're first starting off, it's like entry level, whereas an officer is more an educated individual that's got some college experience, so they get paid a little bit better. Now, the second thing is how you're treated. You definitely get treated better if you're an officer compared to enlisted, right? If you're an officer, you're single, you can live off post, right? You get paid extra money. You don't live in the barracks if you're an officer. You can probably go and do PT in the morning on your own if you wanted to and go do PT with another officer kind of a thing. You don't get that luxury when you're an enlisted soldier. Enlisted soldiers only get to live off post unless they're married or they're higher ranking individuals. You have to do PT probably with your squad, your platoon, or whatever the case is. You don't really get to option usually. There's some units I've heard of where they are pretty lenient with PT, but your majority of units, you're gonna be stuck doing PT with your platoon or your squad. That's not to say like lieutenants won't do PT with the platoon, but if they really wanted to and they're like, sorry guys, I'm busy, I'm gonna go do PT with Lieutenant Smith over here, then they easily could go do that. You can't do that as like a private. Be like, sorry guys, I'm gonna go do PT with Private Jones over here. No. But as an officer, right away, you're pretty much getting treated pretty good. Whereas when you're an enlisted soldier, you're getting treated like crap until maybe you get up to like specialist, then you start getting a little bit better treated. But when you're like an E1, an E2, an E3, unless you've proven yourself to be really reliable, then you might get treated better. But for the most part, you're getting treated kind of like a brand new person, a brand new private. You're getting treated not necessarily like horrible as in like you're getting like beaten or you have to like live off of scraps, but you're not treated seriously and you're treated as someone who's inexperienced. I mean, some of the times you probably don't get that level of kind of respect or treatment on the enlisted side until you get to about like E5, E6 type of thing compared to like an officer. An O1 probably gets treated just as good as an E5 or an E6. So that takes you several ranks on the enlisted side to kind of get kind of somewhat even-ish, not even fully really, but at least closer to being treated almost on the same levels. Now, the third thing is the experience you get, and this is where actually it benefits being on the enlisted side. Because if you are on the enlisted side, let's say you're going to be an 88 Mike to be a truck driver, you're going to be a 31 Bravo to be a military police officer, you're going to be whatever MOS. Those enlisted soldiers are the one that does the job, that's getting their hands on, that is most likely the one that's kind of providing whatever it is that job does. Your officers are more on the leadership side. They're kind of a little bit behind the scenes. They're more on the planning side, certain other admin stuff in most MOSs, not with every MOS. I mean, a lot of times like a lieutenant in like the infantry, they still will do a lot of the stuff that the soldiers are doing kind of a thing on the enlisted side, but that's not the case with all MOSs. Some MOSs do have it where officers are getting the hands-on experience like the enlisted soldiers are, but probably your majority of MOSs are not like that, and your enlisted ones get all the hands-on experience with the training, whereas your officers are more of a leadership role, planning, behind-the-scenes type of stuff. So that's where I feel it's better to be on the enlisted side, because if you want to be, just use an example of my old MOS, a truck driver, you want to be an 88 Mike, you want to drive those trucks, you want to haul that equipment, the lieutenants aren't doing that. You're going to have your E1s and up. They're going to be the ones driving the trucks, loading the trucks, doing everything with the trucks. That officer is behind the scenes planning how the mission is going to go, maybe in charge of that mission, maybe they're the convoy commander in the convoy, but they're not the ones driving the trucks and hauling the equipment. And that's the case with a lot of MOSs too. The fourth thing is your expectations. When you are a brand new private, you're kind of expected that you suck, all right? They know that you're brand new, you're fresh out of training, and you're probably gonna screw stuff up. And we're gonna try to teach you to not screw stuff up, or we're gonna try to educate you, we're gonna try to make you a better soldier, a bit more proficient in your MOS and everything. So your expectations are pretty low when you come in as an E1 as a brand new private. That is not the case if you're coming in as a brand new lieutenant. You're college educated, you have that experience from getting your bachelor's degree, you've gone through the candidate school, you've got these other officers that have mentored you, so you have no excuse. You can't be screwing up like these privates are doing, or you're gonna get haggled really bad for that. So you're expected to, even though you're brand new in the Army too, you're college educated, so they expect a lot more out of you. And then especially as you move up in rank even a little bit to, O2 to a first lieutenant, they still expect a lot out of you, right? And then you go up to the next one, that's a captain, you're probably a company commander. So the expectations of officers are much higher because you're supposed to be the college educated individual. Whereas you're private, sure, you can screw stuff up and they'd be like, Private Smith, he's new, we'll get him there eventually, all right? You can't do that with Lieutenant. Oh, Lieutenant Jones. No, you're gonna get your ass hemmed up if you're in that situation as an officer. The fifth one that I have on here is credibility, all right? If an officer is recommending that we do it this way, a lot of people are gonna probably take that person's word for it and be like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea, sir. Okay, gotcha, or ma'am, or whatever, right? But if Private Smith over here is being like, hey guys, I think we should do it this way, and like, shut the hell up, Private, we got this. So you don't have a whole lot of credibility. Your officers fresh out the gate. Some people may not give you a lot of credibility depending on like the rank, right? I'm sure if you're a private lieutenant trying to, suggest something to the first sergeant, yeah, you probably don't have a whole lot of credibility. But at the platoon level type of thing, you have a lot more credibility than that private does in that platoon level. If you're that lieutenant trying to say we should do something this way, they're probably gonna take your word for it. That private trying to say we should do something this way, they're gonna be brushed to the side. It takes a little while for you to gain credibility as an enlisted soldier. Maybe when you get up to specialist, because now you have some experience, they're gonna take a little bit more of your understanding unless you've proven yourself otherwise, but then maybe not even until sergeant. So sometimes it really depends on your unit, you as an individual as well, because sometimes you can prove yourself at an earlier rank, but for the most part, your privates don't have a whole lot of credibility. And that even kind of transfers, let's say, outside of the Army. Because let's say you did, 4 years, right? You got out of the Army, 4 years. On the enlisted side, you were a specialist, so you got out and you're telling them, yeah, I was in the United States Army, I was a specialist in the United States Army. That probably doesn't have as much credibility if you're trying to like boost your kind of numbers to somebody and you were like, yeah, I did 4 years in the Army, I was a lieutenant. So they're gonna be like, oh wow, you're a lieutenant, that's cool. Or hey, I was a captain. And even on the other side, a sergeant is probably a little bit better, on the enlisted side, but anything probably E4 and below doesn't have that same credibility when you get outside as even just an 01, an entry-level lieutenant gets out of the Army as a lieutenant, or even an 02 first lieutenant, they're just gonna call it lieutenant anyways, and they're gonna be like, yeah, I got out of the Army, I was a lieutenant. That person probably has a little bit more kind of power, a little bit more credibility, more kind of, boost in, what they expect of that person compared to someone that just says they did X amount of years and was a specialist. So pretty much all of that makes it sound like officer is the best way to go, but I think some of that depends. And in my opinion, I feel like the best way to go is to at least start off enlisted, all right? This gets you into the job you want. You get to pick your job because officers don't get to pick their jobs normally. They might get lucky enough to pick the branch, so they might get to pick that, hey, I'm gonna be in the transportation field, but who knows where in the transportation field. Where on the enlisted side, if you specifically wanna drive trucks, and you qualify for it, you specifically can request and possibly get it if it's available to be an 88 mic or whatever the MOS is, but you're gonna actually get that hands-on as an enlisted soldier. So you spend, let's say, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever, as an enlisted soldier, getting your hands dirty, getting that really raw experience as an enlisted soldier. And if the Army is still something you want and you want that leadership kind of responsibility, you wanna start making a lot better money, then do the Green to Gold program. This is a program that if you qualify for it, the Army is gonna kind of let you get out of the Army a little bit early and they're gonna send you off to college to go get your bachelor's degree with the expectation that you're gonna return to the Army to become an officer. So you're gonna go off, do your bachelor's degree, be a civilian for 4 years, whatever, to get that bachelor's degree, and then you have the obligation to come back into the Army, and then you become an officer. And a lot of those individuals, those officers, have a little bit more credibility than just your brand new fresh officer fresh out of high school. You definitely will see it with like other enlisted soldiers where they will have more respect for that officer if they know that that officer used to be an enlisted soldier, because you feel like that person is one of you. That person has experienced the crappy details, the CQ duty, the shitty details out in the field or whatever, right? They have experienced that and have worked their way up and now are an officer. Whereas if you have a fresh brand new lieutenant that's been partying in high school, having a great old time, living the college life, and now they're in the Army, they don't necessarily have that same kind of credibility with the enlisted soldiers that that officer does that was prior enlisted. So that would probably be my advice, is if you are leaning towards officer side, maybe try out enlisted for a little bit, maybe even 4 years, right? Just for the first initial contract, and then maybe go officer and try to do it that way. And I think that'll build your experience and knowledge a lot better than if you just do college and go straight in from college into being in the Army as an officer. That's just my opinion. Do what you want to do whatever sets the goals that will accomplish what you want to do in your life, but that's just what I feel like, and that's what I've seen a lot of times that just gets more respect from officers from the enlisted side, is that if they know you were prior enlisted and now you're an officer, they kind of, will take a little bit more of what you have to say to heart. Now, in the comments section down below, I want to know, what would you rather prefer? Would you prefer to join the Army as an officer? Would you prefer to come in the Army as enlisted? Would you prefer to go with my advice and go enlisted and then go officer? And why? So let me know down in the comments section down below. And then if you're someone who is currently in the Army or maybe a veteran, which route did you go and why did you go that route? For me, I didn't even plan on staying in the Army as long as I did. I was initially gonna do 4 years, get out, and then go to college, but not come back as an officer, but just use the military as an experience and kind of help me with like a better resume, better life experience, this type of thing. But enlisted was just always kind of my idea. I wasn't really interested in going to college and then going to the Army. I didn't even feel like I was probably smart enough to be able to do it at the time anyways, but I wasn't really in that path. So I just stuck with the enlisted route. If you're enjoying this content and you want to keep watching some more stuff from me, well, I got a video right here that'll tell you about what it's like and what you have to do if you get to the end of your contract and you want to stay in the Army. How does that work? If you haven't seen my latest video, check it out right here. Check out my links down in the description box. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe. I'm Christopher Chaos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya.